Alright, so this is my attempt to replace this horrible stereo that the Lexus comes with something a bit more modern. The first step would probably be to remove these little plastic things here. They're not too difficult. I have here a plastic thing I think I got from a box shoes. Just anything to pry it out, I don't care. They come off relatively easy. This is gentle, so it won't break the plastic. The material in this car is very delicate. Okay, I'm gonna try this one. That came off. So I have to do this with one hand. And two. Damn it, just come out. Here comes the other one. Those are super easy to do. The really difficult one to get to is this thing here. And as you can see, I had done this before, taking this off to repair these two fins, and this material is extremely fragile. So I did it with a screwdriver because I am very lazy. So I'm going to try it with this. There are these pins. Very difficult to see. Move this down. The camera doesn't pick it up very well, but there's two here and there's two here. I'm going to attempt to take it off. I swear this is like the worst part. I use something like this to try to reach in here and pick down. You have to push these little clips downward. Specifically something like these things. This one, there's another two, of course, here. And then prying it out, something like this, the bottom is actually way easier to get at than the top. This thing should just come right out. Okay, wow, it's still stuck. There we go. It's got a wire hooked up to it. I'm guessing this is to change the fan speed or something. And the wire goes all the way down here. Just... Damn it, Lexus. Got one. This one just lifts up. There's the other one. Okay. There we go. This is fucking the worst part of this whole thing, just getting this thing off. Alright, the next step is to use a 10mm wrench with an extension like this, and then take these bolts off. The top ones are really easy to get to. It's going to be the bottom ones that are going to be a pain. The bottom ones, you're going to need a magnet like this. That's when you, I don't know if you can, there's no way of seeing it through the camera. Caught it. Don't need this. Don't need that tool. Thing is, it's going to fall down, so rather than losing a bolt, just grab it with the magnet. I'll do that to both sides. The bolts are off. We need to move the shifter out of the way, so without starting the car, press it twice, I guess. Hold the brake pedal. There put the handbrake on or whatever the hell that is. And this stereo will come off. Just like that. Except, still wired up. Still very wired up. That's going to be a pain. Let's see this. I want the car off. Don't want any electrical systems running. The next thing is to disconnect the wires. Wires aren't too difficult to disconnect. I couldn't record it with just one hand, but this is what left. Only concern is the new stereo also takes the antenna connection. This also has a little connection. I don't know what that's for, but I guess that means if I plug this to the new stereo, then if you don't delete the bottom one. So I'm guessing the bottom one still operates. So either I disconnect one and the other one works, or I can get a splitter where I can take this signal and split into two. I might just do that before I put all this together. Hopefully AutoZone has something like this. I doubt it. Barely carry anything. So now, time to put the new stereo on this. Alright, so here's the new stereo. This one's 10 point something inches. It's pretty nice looking. The crazy thing about this, it just looks like someone glued a 1-DIN stereo to a screen. Because all this is pretty standard when it comes to stereos. Even came with this Wi-Fi antenna. It's pretty nice. But let's see if we can put this on the stereo. Crazier thing is this harness. This harness is huge and it's complicated looking. To make matters worse, it has an OBD connector. This thing right here, so I have no idea why. There's only like 2 wires here. It plugs into the OBD port, so I'm not sure if this is necessary or this is like a nice feature, which I don't care for if it's a nice feature, but if it gets rid of a airbag light, I may have no choice. It has this, probably the magic box here. This probably handles everything. This doesn't must be all the decoding and all the other stuff needed to get this to work with the car. So let's see. This doesn't look too difficult to take off the screen. As you can see, all I gotta do is take these screws off. I'm pretty sure it just slides forward. And again, I can't do it with one hand, so the screws, it's clipped right down to here, so it just takes a bit of force. And out comes that crappy thing. Leaves me with the base, and now I have to put the new one on. Alright, I already ran into some problems. Up here was this module that went right here, so I had to remove this with an 8mm socket, and these pins right here had to be pushed in, so this is flat enough for this thing to go in. But there's another problem. This little center thing right here. This is the original. Here's the one that comes with the car. This is the car's clip. This is the original. This is the original. This is what new stereo has. The original. On top of that, these clips, which I assume go here, don't match up entirely. Like, I think this one does. This one does not. That's going to be something I have to work around, because this holds the entire bottom piece to this. Alright, to get this to physically fit, I took a Dremel, I grinded away this section. I don't think that'll affect it too much. It's just one of the many clips that hold it in there. Here, I just literally broke this one off completely. In fact, I'm just going to break more of this off. Maybe a bit more. There. It's totally gone. And this one I had to shrink it because it was actually not lining up with this one very well. The center lines up pretty okay though, so China got 1 out of 3 right. Alright, so here's the product so far. Unfortunately, there is a bit of a gap here because I have no idea why there is. It's just not fitted as well as it could be. And on top of that, the holes they made don't match up too well with the housing. So I only ended up using 1 screw on each side. This is the only one on this side. This here is just there because I don't want to lose the bolt, so for now it sits there. But another thing to pay attention to, especially on this side, this hole here, the camera doesn't pick it up that well. You can almost see a circuit board right up against this hole. So in fact, that on this side, this screw here is very close to a circuit board, but I don't think it's hitting it. So I guess we'll find out the hard way, right? But yeah, these holes were not made with a lot of thought. They were just holes. And the only ones that actually hold the whole thing together is the one here and the one on this side. Oh yeah, and I relocated that module here. Plenty of room back here. Just bolted it here. As long as the wire reaches and bolts to it, I don't think that's going to be a problem. So the wiring is not the hard part. Wiring so far, it's a mess. I stuck the box in here for now, that magic box. This pink one here plugs into this here. And of course, there's another end way over here. This jumble of wire plugs in here, and of course, whatever will usually plug in here plugs in here. Just whatever usually plugs in here plugs in here. This connector here is basically the one you would get in the old stereo, whatever that thingamajig is. The OBD connector, which I'm not even sure why. Why does that even exist? And of course, some stuff if you had an amplifier, which I don't. Time to wire tie this mess. So here it is, all wire tied up a bit. So, yeah. There is a USB connector. There's 2 of them here. Now that's going to be a project for another day because I plan to put a socket somewhere in the center console so I can have USB ports. I can plug in USB like memory sticks and etc. to this thing. And that's also because this doesn't have an SD card slot as far as I can tell. Also, from the looks of it, I can't find anything that activates the reverse camera because usually these stereos have like some sort of like reverse power wire. Now, if any one of these are it, I'm not sure if the labeling is going to help me out. So, yeah, I can't tell. Maybe it doesn't activate by power, just by a video signal. Once it gets the signal, it turns on the camera. I hope that's the way it works. And of course, here's their GPS antenna, which I'm going to slap somewhere in there. I usually do that. So, let's put it in the cart, hope that it works, because I do have to tear this apart another day to put a reverse camera. And I don't need to tear this apart to do these USB things, but I hope this has no weird issues like a seatbelt light or anything like that, because that's a known issue with these aftermarket radios. Let's go see. Alright, to make sure that everything's working right before I commit, I plugged the stereo in, well, at least mostly plugged in. Believe it or not, the OBD2 doesn't seem to do a bunch of anything. I mean, I haven't plugged it in. Let me turn on some lights in here. There. It looks pretty cool. The hazard button works. The air conditioning clearly is operating. Though I don't know what speed or what mode. Let's see what happens when I press mode button. I wonder if the OBD is supposed to put something on the screen here so you could see what mode the air conditioning is on. I can put the air conditioning button. This is like second guessing. I think it's enabled because none of these light up any differently, but you can definitely hear it working. So I turn on the air conditioning button, and I'm definitely getting cold air. So what happens if I press this button again? How do I turn up the damn temperature? Seriously, how do I fucking turn on the damn temperature? Auto. I can control fan speeds, I can control mode, I can control dual, which what the fuck does that do? Auto ACC. How the fuck do I control the temperature? This wasn't well thought out. It's not blowing hot. It's not blowing cold, but it's not blowing hot. So how do I get it hotter? Okay, there's a car button here, so I get radio, which is not hooked up. It's freaking nice, but there's a button here with all my apps. Steering wheel, radio, settings. Nope, nothing to control temperature. So that's the GPS button, that's a Bluetooth button, and that's the music button. Okay, that sounds like it turned off something. Yeah, I have nothing blowing here. You know, let's try the radio. I think that's the radio. That's the music player. Where's the goddamn radio? Let's try the radio from the. I guess that doesn't work, the radio, because I see no radio controls. That would make sense then. I don't have to plug in the radio feature with radio antenna auxiliary, Bluetooth, power settings, equalizer, DVD, downloads, disc, iPod, music. Radio. Okay, we do have a radio, but there's no radio antenna plugged in. How easy it is to get that radio plugged in. Think I can fish out of there? Don't tell me that's it, because that is a short wire. Okay, now found them. Plug one of them in, because there's two radio wires. Because you never can have too many radio wires. Okay, the radio antenna is on this side, down here. I just got more hissing when I plugged it in. Let's try another channel.
What to do. Many people have called on the president to ask Roy Moore
that works.
Decide. Some Republicans want Jeff Sessions to be a write-in.
So I pressed the main radio.
Because if they have Roy Moore in the Senate, he becomes an
What the
outlaw
fuck?
to Republicans. If he loses, they have another Democrat at a time they can't afford to lose.
So
a
it
single vote.
operates the
I would say
radio.
the most interesting
Even from
development in the
here,
Roy Moore story was
it'll
Fox
operate the
News'
TV screen.
Sean
How about
Hannity,
from
Moore's
the
strongest
steering wheel?
defender, has given Moore
This is
24
Navi
hours
on the
to
screen when I press that button.
his story, or
So
Hannity
apparently if I press the
will
Mo
ask
button in
him
the steering wheel, I get
to
navigation.
NPR's Mara Liason. Thanks, Mara.
Thank you. We see them
That's
everywhere.
not navigation, that's GPS test.
Add
Let's press it again.
clinics that
It
talk
cycles
about
the music. Press it again. Target video. Cycle again. Phone. What does I press these two arrows here? What does that do here? Nothing I can tell. Does it control the volume? Yes, it does. Volume does go up and down, but I'm not playing anything. Mode again. TV. Well, don't have any TV antenna. Auxiliary. Some video signal. Okay, I'm not pressing volume, I'm pressing mode. Okay, apparently that's not working as well as they'd like it to. Let's try pressing the AM sat button here. Does that do anything here? No. FM button? No. Scan button does nothing. Does the volume button work it? Yes, the volume button does work this, so that's interesting. It'll be also interesting if I can use the DVD player with this too, but so far no issues other than I can't change the temperature. But I'm going to try that now. I'm going to shut off the engine. I'll just quickly plug this into the OBD2 connector. Oh, that's easier said than done. That is not as long of a wire as it needs to be. Fishing. Where is this connector? Aha. I found it. I'm doing this in blind, so. Fucking. Aha. It is plugged in. Okay. Start the car again. Alright, so I'm not sure what that's going to do. Load. Try seeing the apps again. Mode. I think mode is just stuck between switching the volume. To be honest, I don't know what the OBD2 is. I don't know how to change the temperature. This was not well thought. Alright, let's put it together and see what happens. Alright, so this is the stereo installed, and I'm about to quit for tonight because it's too dark. I know you can see this, but up here, it's the upper portion sticks out more so than the stereo itself, but on the sides it matches up okay. I mean, it's not like it's sticking out or anything, but the bottom, of course, we all know how that went. And you know, it's not, let's put it like this. This stereo has fitting issues, lots of fitting issues. By the way, I do have the OBD connector plugged in, so that's a thing. Though I don't know why my interior lights are on. Do I have all the doors closed or something? Let me put the car in. By the way, I now know how this car goes in reverse. It literally knows it from the car. So as soon as I put the car in reverse, it's looking for a video signal. That's interesting. So there's no need to wire a positive wire here to turn on the reverse camera. The reverse camera will be another day because I don't have it, and I just wanted to see how this radio worked first before I decided to wire up a camera, which I'm definitely going to do. I also want to put down here in the center console the USB ports, so when I open this lid I have access to 2 USB ports. But for now I shoved them there. I'll have to take this back apart again because I have no choice. But there's some interesting things. If I open the door in the car, it shows you which door is opening. That's pretty fucking neat. I do have the OBD connector connected, so maybe that's what the OBD connector does. So that's very interesting. Though I don't know why my feet have lights on down there. You can't see. Man, my cell phone camera really is horrible. But there are no lights on the dashboard other than blinking for a seatbelt. So that's good. That's good news. But I still haven't figured out how to change the temperature on this whatsoever. So that's something I have to work on. But there's YouTube. I did install it. It's connected to my home's Wi-Fi. And YouTube works. There it is, full screen. Sometimes this back button doesn't work too good. There it goes. It's not too sensitive. Everything else works fine. Weirdly enough, if I press this car button, I get a radio, but I don't know how to activate the radio. So I try stations, what are presets? Okay, what is this? Oh, you know what? I think I figured out. That radio is the car's radio. It doesn't function because don't have the antenna plugged in, so that's a bit problematic maybe. I don't know, but the radio built into it works just fine. I could always get a splitter from AutoZone and split it so it connects to 2 radios, both the internal radio on this one as well as the one that was originally meant for the car. I'm gonna have to tear it apart anyway, so that's something I might just do anyway. Here's the CD, so I'm guessing it works with a 6 CD changer in the car, and it does show 6 CDs up here. It's very, very fascinating. But this does not tell me how to control the temperature or anything. Double check something here. Gotta be something here. There's DVD again. iPod. Music. Original car. Yeah, that's what it means by original car. Quick pick. What the hell do I need that here for? Car settings. Maybe there's something here to change the temperature. Amplifier, vehicle configuration. There really isn't a whole lot of stuff. No, there's nothing here to change the temperature. Alright, I'm gonna have to contact the person I bought this from, Alibaba, because they have to explain to me how I can change the temperature. But because everything works so far, other than the fitting is not great. But I'll have to come back tomorrow and look at this some more. And because I definitely did not wire up the OBD wire. It's just dangling. I mean, I got it through, like, there's a corner here. You can see a tiny gap where I shoved my finger in. I was able to get the wire just in there. That allowed me to get the radio going. Let me put the seatbelt on so I can make sure there are no lights. Just want to make sure that's... Maybe it even says I put the seatbelt on. Maybe the car stereo knows that much. Let's see. No, it doesn't say anything, but there are no lights. I am light free, which is good. I have to say, I'm very impressed. Despite the fitting isn't perfect and really needs to be, looked at. And also, where are the goddamn temperature controls? Until I figure that out, this is kind of bad. Because it almost looks like they're like, well, who needs to change the temperature? But yeah, I can turn on the fan controls. Way high. I mean, it's hot now, so I mean, it's got heat coming out of it, but you can't change the temperature. I mean, if I put on AC, you hear the compressor kick on. I really don't know how to change the temperature controls. That's a massive concern. It's actually not getting colder. little cooler, but that's still hot. Those are just auto. All sorts of things are going on. Yeah, without a temperature control button, I really don't know what the hell. Maybe there's supposed to be like some gesture you're supposed to do, like press a few buttons to make the command it to lower and increase the temperature. That's definitely one I have to look into. Temperature's going down, but the hazard button does work. That does work. But I really wish there was a temperature button. What was this light here for? Lock. I guess that's the security light. Over here is the airbag light. Come back tomorrow. Everything works, just I don't know how to change the temperature. That's a big problem, especially in the summer. For now, it blows hot air, which works for me in this cold times. But I really need to change the temperature. All right, well, tomorrow then. Here I am trying to put the USB ports that I'm going to have for the stereo, for the IS250, all the way in this bucket. More specifically, way back here, down here. This is the only visible room I can find to be able to do it. Basically, I'm going to make a hole way back here, as between the auxiliary port and this other cigarette lighter. Somehow I'm going to fit it right between there, as center as I can, and put the thing. It should fit. There's plenty of room to run the wires underneath this bucket. If anyone's wondering how to get this bucket out, because it wasn't super easy, but when you take this off here, which is actually just clipped on, you can just lift it out. There's two screws here that hold this the ashtray here, and then you can see there's two screws here. The back cover comes, just plops right off. There's two screws. Everything's like 10 millimeter. And then you have these clips way in the front. These things just, they pop out. These are the things that really hold it in there on both sides. You just have to yank it in that direction, and that should get the bucket out. I'm going to mark it and see how I'm going to fit it. I'm going to use this to mark the hole, and then I'm going to try to Dremel that hole open because it's plastic, and go from there. This is the result of the cutting of the hole. Very hard to see, but you can probably see it with a flashlight. Wish there were better lighting, but there's the hole. It fits, but I will have to grind this little plastic here. There's a little ridge that sticks out. What I have to, at least a little bit, flatten it a little bit, because they have, you know, they put it there for a reason. So I just have to flatten that a little bit so when I tighten the bolt, the USB socket stays. And as you can see, there's plenty of room to run a wire underneath all the way toward the stereo. So that'll work. Here's the USB port fully installed. See if I can get some better lighting. There it is. You can see I have a flap to close it and open it, and there's a bolt. Right in here. So I tighten the nut. Again, not very good lighting. There's the nut that holds it in there, and best of all, doesn't interfere with any of the mechanisms back here. It's completely empty. So now it's time to install it. About to wire up the reverse light for the reverse camera. So to do this, I'm going to take these two wires here for this connects to the reverse camera. And wire them here directly to the reverse light. The reverse light on this car is, the wire itself is removable, and you have to take the light out to get this little tiny connector out. My camera can't pick up on that very well, but yeah, I tested the power because I put the car in reverse. The black wire is ground, but again, so is the green wire. The blue wire is the hot wire, so the idea is I want to solder directly on the connectors. That way I don't have to cut the wire, because I don't like cutting wires. And there's plenty of exposure in there to sneak in a fine, pointy soldering iron and solder the wires. And here is the final result of the solder. Well, not the final, but you can see I cut and I use a razor blade because this plastic cuts really easily. Just enough to get my soldering iron in there, and I soldered the connections. Red wire goes to the blue, black wire, or black with a red line on it, goes to the black wire for ground. I'm going to seal it up with some of this stuff, because why not? And here is the taped and sealed result. Now, on this end, because this particular camera wire, the video wire has a positive lead with it, but I don't need this. The car automatically knows when I put it in reverse, so this will be just taped up and insulated, and I'm just going to come along for the ride. Here's the reverse camera installed on the trunk. As you can see, here it is installed. The wiring. The biggest issue when installing this camera is dealing with this section because it kind of lumps out. So I had to cut open a hole to be able to tighten the bolt for this particular camera. And I used a mixture of a Dremel tool. This Dremel tool right here, I have a diamond cutting bit on the top. And this metal is so easy, you can use something like this to cut the metal. I just ran it down, put it in here. Now I'm going to try to run it to the front of the car, to where the radio is. Alright, this is my pre-final put together of the stereo of this Chinese whatever 10.2 inch Android stereo. So what I've done is that, first of all, I did get an antenna splitter, which wasn't long enough. I had to go to local AutoZone and get an extension so the top stereo, the upper stereo, because there's the original OEM stereo, that works. So if I go to this car button here, there it is working. But the problem is I can't tune it higher than 97.6, which in America, stereo stations go way higher than that, but there is no way to adjust this. So, I mean, yeah, the internal stereo works, as does the CD. So I have it on CD, showing here which CD. Okay, so all this stuff works. Now, there's also an internal radio, which is separate. So I'm going to pull this app out right here. Tap that. Now this is the internal radio, which this radio will go well past it. Let's see if I can find a radio station.
Probably. But the guys who
103.5.
he exhausts himself.
103.5. It's noticeably not as good quality as the OEM one, but it does play well, so it works. Reverse camera is working. Put the car in reverse. There it is. Switch which is automatic. I don't have any power wire. This is just an audio video cable that goes in the back because this stereo knows when I put the car in reverse. The air conditioning controls now work, which I can only choose high or low. Why is the AC on? Turn that off. But yeah, I have that all working. I'm actually turn that off. Is there an off button here? Yeah. Off button. Pretty neat. YouTube works as it should. Well, I'm not going to play back a video, but it does work. Here's another interesting thing, because you can see here, I have the USB cables that come out of this stereo. Rather than having them back there doing nothing, I said, oh, why don't we just put them in the car? So there's an extension that goes into the center console, which I had to pull the center console out, and lo and behold, my USB port, which I have a 16GB memory stick sticking in there. And yeah, it's a USB 3 adapter. This is not a USB 3, but whatever, it works. It was cheap. I didn't give a crap. So, yeah, this whole thing is functional. Now, of course, it's all in pieces. Where the underneath is hanging down because the audio video cable ran through there, as well as the LBD2 wire a lot of wire tying is going to be needed. You can see I ran the audio video cable through this molding here, as well as the one in the back of the car to the trunk. Of course, now it's just a matter of making it look nice, putting it all back together, wire tying everything, and of course, because of my, well, gorilla wanting to get this out of here, you can see around the edges here, I have messed up this weird rubber interior that goes around this, and there's probably a way to fix it. I'm thinking there's this stuff you can buy at AutoZone where you heat it up and you match the pattern. It's just black color, so I don't care as long as it matches and it doesn't look like this tattered mess. But now it's just a matter of putting it nicely back together and wire tiring this up. See, this can't dangle there, so I don't fix all that. Fix the air conditioning controls. See this air conditioning controls here? The way that's done, you have to go to settings, which is way up here. Now you go down to where it says car settings, tap that, and down here there's a thing called extra settings. You tap that. Now I have to enter the password. The password, if you ever install a Chinese radio, they all use the same password, which is 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay. Now here I am in this crazy menu. There's a ton of stuff here, and if you ever wanted to change anything about how this car works, config info is where I went to, where you can see this here air control was not checked off when I got the stereo, so I had to check this off, and I had air control. I probably should check no DVD, because there is no DVD drive in this stereo, but I'm going to keep it there just in case maybe it works with USB DVDs. Not that DVDs are useful in 2017, but never know. Doesn't hurt to have it there. There's also stuff here you may want to change, like radio antenna, not radio antenna power, but because let's see, select region. Because this is selected was originally China, you have to change it to USA. Because otherwise the radio doesn't work quite in that range. But the built-in radio still has that problem where no matter what, I can't go past 97.6. In America, you can definitely go past that for radio stations. So I'm not sure if there's a setting here for that, but I definitely have to look at it one of these days. I don't know what this is. High, full. I'm not sure. There's a ton of stuff here that you can control with the radio. So for anyone who's who bought one of these radios and doesn't know where the climate control is, which is definitely this air conditioning thing, that's the way you enable it if they didn't enable it by default, which probably quite a few of them don't.